During my college days, which if we think about now is already a couple of years ago, I drove around a Volkswagen Golf GTS Business Edition Plus. And ever since we sold that car a couple of years ago, I've been yearning to get behind the wheel of another Volkswagen wagon. Finally, that time has arrived. This one right here is the Volkswagen Santana GTS. Today I'm going to show you around this car and I'm also going to give it a test drive, so stay tuned. The Volkswagen Santana GTS keeps the typical Volkswagen design language, simple and clean. With lines on the hood and just straight lines on the grille and down below at the bumper, you will not mistake this for anything else except for a Volkswagen. Halogen headlights and fog lights give you enough brightness despite not having LEDs. Then towards the side of the car, proportions may look a little bit odd because if in the Golf they took the Golf hatchback and turned it into a wagon, this one, it came from something like a sedan, then they added the rear hatch. But nonetheless, you still have the same clean lines, the character line all across just above the door handle. You get 15-inch rims though, which is a little bit tiny, I gotta admit, and also roof rails up here. What I like though is that the wing mirrors, they are very clean looking too, also with those clean lines, and you also have a repeater over there. At the back is the party piece of the Santana GTS. So of course, instead of having a regular trunk, you have an entire hatchback here, but we'll get to that later. First off, up top is a third brake light, the aforementioned antenna, a rear wiper, very useful and very clean looking, but simple lights. There's also this chrome piece right here, which is something that you don't see at first, but it's quite interesting once you get your eye on it. Then you also have these reflectors towards the bottom. Open up this rear hatch, you press a button over here instead of the usual thing wherein you press the Volkswagen badge, and in here you have almost 400 liters of space. And if you fold down your rear seats and remove this tonneau cover, you're looking at over 1,200 liters of space. But it doesn't just end there. The fun doesn't end there, because if you do open up this false floor, you have a full-size spare tire. Powering the Volkswagen Santana GTS is a 1.5-liter MPI, naturally aspirated inline-4 engine, making 110 horsepower and 150 Newton meters of torque. This is all mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. Here inside the Santana GTS, we check the door thud. And I think that is among the best that I have ever heard. It simply is something that only German cars can do. And once you're in the interior of this car, you may not have the most premium types of material. So up top, yes, that's all hard touch plastic. However, they do feel durable. And you also get some accents of carbon fiber inside here, or at least full carbon fiber. So here on the side, here on the dash with a red stripe as well. The steering wheel, it is multifunction, but it is not leather wrapped. However, it is flat bottom. The size of this thing, this is pretty huge. This is one of the biggest steering wheels I've ever tried. You're in somewhere closer, it's incredibly basic with a really tiny screen in the middle, but it is functional and easy to read. The center screen in this car is the optional for 31,000 pesos Blaupunkt head unit. And this head unit right here, it is Android based, so you can use Waze straight up. But you do have to connect your phone for your portable hotspot. Your AC, you don't get climate control, so it's the usual knob, but at least it's very easy to use. You also get a stop-start system on this one, but personally I don't really like using it. Shifter, nothing fancy, it goes down all the way to S, and it is not manually shiftable. But down here, you do get a conventional handbrake, which means despite this car being a front-wheel drive car, you can have loads of fun with it. This armrest right here though, it's a bit kind of flimsy feeling, but there is extra storage inside. Unfortunately, if you have it all the way down, it hits your conventional parking brake. So if you just want to lift this up, you kind of have to move that out of the way before lifting that up. The seats are part leather and part cloth, but even though they are manually adjustable, at least the support and the bolsters on the side, they are all pretty good. So overall, it still really has a very Eurocentric vibe to it. Another thing that the Santana GTS has over some of its competitors is a sunroof. But the odd thing about the sunroof is that it's not like an electronic button. Instead, you do have to twist this knob to kind of open it. Safety wise, you do get 4 airbags in this car and isofix tethers at the back. Here at the back of the Santana GTS, you check the door, and that really does sound good. Now here at the back, unfortunately, you don't get any toys, so you don't even get a map pocket on the driver's side. You don't have charging ports, you don't have air vents, neither do you get a center armrest. But you do get tons of legroom in this one and also tons of headroom because it is a wagon after all. Unfortunately, because the car isn't that wide, while the feet wells are pretty wide and the transmission tunnel is quite narrow, shoulder room is something that you will struggle with if you have 3 people seated abreast. So this car is still best reserved for 2 people. So driving the Volkswagen Santana GTS here inside the city first. And first off, this car is relatively comfortable, at least for the Euro-like standards, because one thing you gotta know about Euro cars is that they're not soft in any way. In fact, they are firmer than most Asian cars, Japanese cars and Chinese cars included. So this one, it's relatively firm, but the trade-off for that is that this car is rather poised when you want to throw it around corners, if you want to like change lanes pretty fast. This car is really not bad. There is still some body lean, and when you are taking corners fast, the rear has a little bit of a tendency to hop a little because it is a torsion beam setup, but otherwise it's a relatively comfortable city cruiser. One odd thing though is that if you're not on a highway and the city roads aren't exactly the best, it's not made out of the best materials, there is a significant amount of road noise, tire noise that enters into the cabin above 40 or 50 kilometers per hour. So that's the only thing that detracts from the experience. Now, power-wise, if you're not going very fast, acceleration is actually not bad. The power is at around 3,000 to 4,000 RPM, but then it kind of tapers off after that. But at least the transmission kind of knows which gear to put you in. It's just not the most responsive. Seats-wise, in the city, it's also not bad, although it doesn't have lumbar support. The other support, the other bolsterings are pretty good, so it's enough. It's definitely better than its non-Euro counterparts. Now we go on over to the steering. So this already uses an electronic power-assisted steering, but it really does feel like it's still analog, like it's still hydraulic, because the way that it is weighted, it's not super light, but it's also not too heavy. It's just the right balance to give you a rather connected driving feel. Yes, it may still not be as direct feeling as a hydraulic power assisted steering, but as it is, at least for as far as electronic power assisted steering systems go, this is actually not bad. Taking this corner a little bit faster just to demonstrate it, yes, the rear does have this small tendency to kind of hop, but like if we take another corner faster, yep, you definitely know it is a front wheel drive car, but for a front wheel drive car, it's actually not bad. And then the acceleration noise, the exhaust note, is actually pretty good despite this only having a 1.5 liter engine. All around you, including the back, you get to see so much out of it. And despite this car not having a reverse camera, those reverse sensors plus that visibility at the back makes for a really easy car to park. Where the Volkswagen Santana GTS absolutely shines, especially for a car in this class, is on the highway, because okay, we all know where this car is made, but still, it has the DNA of German cars when it comes to the highway. With the exception of a little bit more road noise, a little bit more tire noise permeating through the floor, but I mean wind noise in the way the seats do hold you, this is a great highway cruiser. The only thing it doesn't really want to do is overtake often, because when you do step on the throttle, there is a little bit of a delay before it'll downshift and give you a little bit more power. But even if it does on the higher gears, you don't really get that much more pull. Consumption-wise, in the city, you can do around 7.5 kilometers per liter. Take it up to the highway, and you're looking at 22.6 kilometers per liter. Therefore, the Volkswagen Santana GTS is a car that I can recommend for pretty much anyone who will probably do a lot of long-distance driving. In the city, there are more comfortable options, but really on the highway, it's pretty hard to find another car this refined, another car this Euro feeling, and at 995,000 pesos net of discounts, exclusive of that Blaupunkt head unit, which is optional for 31,000 pesos, the Volkswagen Santana GTS is really one of the cars that you should consider if you're gonna do a lot of highway cruising. If you do buy a Volkswagen, I can assure you, being a previous Volkswagen Philippines owner, that Volkswagen has amazing after-sales service. I've had some hiccups with my car before. My fault, don't worry. And Volkswagen really helped me out so much. Their after-sales service is one of the best out there.